Welcome, everyone, to the Insurance Perspectives podcast. This is part one of our series on Insurance Agent App. On today's show, we have Heather
Hi, thanks for having me.
and Kiki.
Hi there. Excited to be here.
Excellent. Great. I'm grateful that you both are here today. Um, Heather Killian will receive a full introduction in part two. Just to give a sneak peek and some context behind some of the contributions Heather will make in this episode, she is the Chief Operating Officer for Atkinson Insurance Agency out of Mechanicsville, Virginia, and has over 5 years of experience in the insurance industry. Our focus today is Insurance Agent App, HawkSoft's original API partner. And joining us from Charlotte, North Carolina is Kiki Johnson. Kiki is co-founder of Insurance Agent App and has probably been the partner that I've worked with the most in my career at HawkSoft. In actuality, Insurance Agent App was key to HawkSoft's transition to having API-driven connectivity. We had this legacy API beforehand that required two systems to be running on the same machine, not really cloud forward, web forward in the connectivity. And alongside Kiki and Matt Aaron, I gained a ton of experience in the partnership world, and it really was invaluable to how HawkSoft shaped our API partner program. Insurance Agent App is also a huge supporter of independent agents and technology advocacy. I was encountering them at conferences like Augie and ACT when I was in my marketing responsibilities at HawkSoft. And Insurance Agent App has also been a huge supporter of every single one of our national HawkSoft user group conferences, many of the regionals. They're just huge supporters and advocates for independent agents. I am very excited to dive into our conversation today with Kiki. To set the stage, we always like to ask our partners to give the elevator pitch. So what does Insurance Agent App's customer service platform do?
Basically, the most important thing is it delivers instant access digitally of policy data to clients. So, and while doing that, it's delivering an amazing customer experience while streamlining all the workflows and simplifying the workflows for the agency in the background. Especially with HawkSoft, because you guys have been so progressive with your APIs that you guys kind of went from behind to being leaders, which is really exciting. And it's really exciting to be having been partners with you from the very beginning and see how hard you guys are working on it. And it's not easy. Everyone thinks it's easy. It's not easy. And I think a lot of people are finding that out. But taking it farther than that, really what the Insurance Agent App does and delivers to clients is it with a single line login and instantly policyholders of HawkSoft agencies and other agencies, but we're here about HawkSoft, they have access to all of their personal lines and commercial lines policy information. Their auto ID cards are generated and right there with no other information. And so it extends the agency from their in-office hours to 24/7 service. So whether it's auto ID cards, it's policy information down to, and we'll go in deeper, coverage limits and deductibles, but also claims in those mobile moments of you've got a claim, you're in an accident, or you want to make a change request or a service request or any of those things. We have built that out, and we're very excited about the industry as a whole moving digitally. Because there's so much that we can be doing and delivering as a customer service platform that we haven't even touched on yet. And that's what's really exciting. And it's exciting to be partners with HawkSoft because they're working really hard to get there.
I really appreciate that. I'm a big fan of that term you used earlier, mobile moments. I always get anxious about these recordings, and so I go and I read through people's LinkedIn's and people's websites and all that fun stuff. And I saw that sentence. I think it's on your LinkedIn about mobile moments. I was like, that's a great way to phrase when you need the app. It's like, oh, you're in an unfortunate situation, you just got rear-ended or something, take those photos, upload them. Or you need to pull up the ID card and you're like, I know they send me one in the mail every 6 months, but who, it's in 5 different places, or it could be in your phone. Um, I think that's a great overview. Thank you, Kiki. And so now you're in the hot seat. We have 5 questions we ask all of our partners, and we start things off with the simplest one, or potentially the most complex. Why does Insurance Agent App exist? What is your guys' story?
This is a really fun one because it truly was the synergy of tech meeting insurance. So, my co founder and I, Matt Aaron, had been in the mobile space very early and in mobile technology, going back to 2008 when there were only 15,000 apps in the App Store. So we were seeing things and hearing things and part of things that the rest of the world didn't even know about. They saw these little mobile device as awesome small game machines and maybe an occasional phone call. But we were like, it's not about either of those things. It's going to be their computer. So that was on the tech side. And then we're all touched by insurance. I mean, it's one of the fascinating things I find about insurance. It's the only product out there that everybody has to have. I mean, the blue water is just endless. So as just individuals, we had a ton of experience with business experience with business policies, personal lines policies, firsthand knowledge of the customer journey, firsthand knowledge of the policyholder experience and how frustrating it was. And what happened was the two merged dramatically when my co-founder was on a run, and this is back around 2009, 2010, when a car started to slide sideways on a slick road, and had it jumped a curve 3 feet sooner, it would have taken him out. It slid ahead, hit a tree, totaled the car, but Matt was right there. And it was literally that moment when the person got out of the car, they were fine, everybody was okay, but she was like, what do I do? Where do I go? Who do I call? I don't have my information. I don't know what to do. And it was just that instantaneous mobile moment where you're like, this is where the future of insurance is going to be and the future of our lives. We're going to look to our phones. Now it's expanded to online because COVID and all of that. We provide the same services of the mobile app online. So if you're more office based and you want to check your phone, check your policies or pay your bills, you can do it either way. But it initiated with that mobile moment. So we started doing our research with agencies and asking, why don't you have this? And universally, it was like, we need better customer service tools, but we don't have the time, money, or resources. We also learned that agencies own the customer relationship, not the carriers, which helped direct us and why we're so focused on the agents in the channel and not the carriers, although we work with all of the carriers, thousands of carriers. And then we also learned, to my frustration, is how manually intensive the whole insurance vertical is. I was just like, oh my God, how do you guys manage this? It's like not just double entry, but it's like triple entry, quadruple entry. And if you're, you got to target your things, and other insurtechs have come in and they've targeted different aspects of the market. But what we came in was from the policyholder and the agency side, how do we, and the carrier side, how do we create more synergy? So from our technical background, SaaS, which is software as a service product, and then mobile technology was a solution to all the problems that we were seeing. So
that in my head, I'm thinking through the one and only car accident I've ever been in. The first person I called was my mom, and then my agent. But it is those things where you're just like, in that moment, you don't know what to do. And having that resource just readily available, I think, is very important to anyone, because it's like, what do I do in these moments? I think that's why I love independent agents. They tend to be that person that you do call and get that help and guidance for. And then I believe that's a functionality of Insurance Agent App. You can reach the agency if you need to, get their contact info pretty fast, or walk through the claim process, do that first notice of loss, all that fun stuff. And I was actually really curious. It's funny, you and I almost always engage on the technical side navigating the API, discussing those things, working through problems, what have you. And I always take every opportunity I can, and I recommend people listening to this, if you get a chance, find a webinar that Matt is doing, Matt Aaron, the co-founder of Insurance Agent App, one of the best presenters in the business. I've never actually heard that story, or maybe I have and I've forgotten it, but because it's always just like, how do we help agents is what we always focus on in these conversations. So that's why I was really excited to ask that question, because I was like, oh, I want to get to the bottom of this. And I don't have a good segue. I thought I had one and then it just kind of flew out of my brain. But I would love to know, now that we know kind of what the genesis of Insurance Agent App was, if you had to pick one aspect of Insurance Agent App that draws in and keeps customers, what do you think that is, and why is that?
I think it's just it's an extension of their agency. Insurance is not is an intangible product, and yet your clients are in very tangible instances. They need to do things, and this brings the Insurance Agent App is that container, is that insurance agency in their pocket with them all the time, that they can get answers, they can look up information, they can ask for advice, they can do all of these different things. It's that container that, because the struggle that agencies have is everything they do is outbound, and it's a moment in time. So if you send out an email about something and the client that you sent it to, or your customer base that you sent it to, it doesn't affect them in that moment, it's gone into the Ethernet, and they're not going to remember it. So when that moment comes, they have no other choice but then to reach out to you and say, even though you told them, they're not going to remember it. So this is that container, that ability for them to be like, oh, I can just go into my app and I can find my RID card. I can see what my deductibles are. I can see, we talked about our life insurance policy. Did we do it? Did I add that? I mean, we have it with fleets all the time. Did we add that? So it's that container that brings it all to the agencies. So that, I think, is one of the most important things. And then what differentiates us is just how comprehensive and advanced our product is. So I don't know if you wanted me to go down that path, or that's letting you lead.
No, I appreciate that. And so I want to check in with Heather on this. Does that kind of square with how Atkinson Insurance Agency sees Insurance Agent App?
I think that hits the nail on the head. The way that I referred to it whenever Kiki and I were chatting was that the app and being able to have it on your phone is like if you take a little tiny version of me and you put it in your pocket, and it's like our clients are just walking around with little tiny agents in their pocket. Like, you can send stuff through, requests, all of that. And I won't get too deep into it, but I love that they're able to send stuff through and it's their words. So there's no E&O issues coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many aspects to successful technology, and I think branding is really an important piece of it. And I really appreciate that Insurance Agent App has a very straightforward name. This is gonna sound silly, but I've used the app in a demo capacity in the past. A lot of HawkSoft sales team also does, and I believe the default icon is an eye, not an eye, but the I for insurance. And I think it's so brilliant, just to be like, I need my insurance app. There it is. I need my agent. There it is. And it sounds like that's kind of the version. It's the mini Heather in in all your customers' pockets.
Yeah, there's a funny story behind that, because the reason we named it that is because when we were doing our research and we were going out and we were talking to friends and neighbors and random people, like, so how do you categorize your insurance agent? How do you store them? Do you store it as, the agency name? What do you store it as? And the answers were either they store it as Heather or they store it as insurance Heather. So the agency name, as important as it is, often gets lost in the shuffle because that's not what they hear. They're talking to Heather and they're talking about insurance. So it was, it was one of the things is that, and we always think of ourselves like our company falls into the background. We don't want to be seen. We are all about the agency. That's why, now the technology allows us to have custom icons for the agencies. So it's still going to have the customer's icon. So you're going to have that brand recognition. But the truth is that when somebody searches their device, they're looking up insurance. And so when they type in insurance, up pops Killian's icon, and it's going to show them, the person goes, yep, there's my little Heather right in my pocket.
Might get a little awkward moving forward. I'm going to be in a lot of pockets.
Yeah. You got to be careful with that one.
I do.
I make good use of, I'm an iPhone user, and I think you can do this on Android, but in the contact properties, there's always that company option. And so a lot of my coworkers, I might have their first name, but I'll put HawkSoft as the company, just so I know when, there's like 4 Matts at HawkSoft, but like if Matt Aaron called me, I would say insurance agent app underneath. But if Matt Brower, one of our territory managers, called, it would say HawkSoft under it. And so I completely agree. Like, especially in a stressful moment, your brain, you might have been doing business with accident insurance agency for a decade, and you get into a car accident, you're disoriented. You just like, I need my agent. I need my insurance. And it might come back to you later, but in that moment, I can totally appreciate how easy that is to find.
We used to get pushback, early on with agencies being like, I want it. And the technology just wasn't there. I mean, the stores wouldn't allow the same app to have different icons. It was called templating. And some people that were in on this early got couldn't survive because of that issue and how it was built. But we had an agent who called us and out of the blue, and he was like, okay, I get it. I totally get it. And we're like, get what? What are you talking about? And he's like, I was in an accident. It's the first accident I've ever been in. And I couldn't remember a thing. He's like, I'm an agent of anybody. I should know what to do. He said, I'm in my own phone looking up insurance because I couldn't remember anything about anything. And so we're like, and so it's true. It just is what it is. It's like, you're not going to change people.
Yeah. This is always the dicey middle question. Generally it's good, but this is always we're getting into the next 2 questions are the hard hitting ones, the hot seat questions. And so I mentioned in my introduction that Insurance Agent App does a lot of great advocacy. I can remember very important conversations that happened at AUGI, which is a group for insurance agency or insurance professional associations.
Everybody should join and be involved in.
They should. Google in all caps AUGIE, AUGIE, and then
.org.
Yeah, .org. And go read about it, attend an event, get involved. It's a place where insurance technology, insurance carriers, insurance agents all come together and discuss issues of technology and issues of other things related to the industry. It's a great working group. There's also the Agents Council of Technology, ACT, another great organization. And I can remember a lot of important conversations around the topic of data ownership, data security, data due diligence. It's an important topic. I know it's an important topic to Insurance Agent App. It's always been at the forefront of our conversations. And so I'm going to ask you one of the key questions we ask in this podcast. How does Insurance Agent App approach data ownership with regards to your customers?
The way we approach data ownership is we actually have 2 customers. So it's the data ownership of the agency and it's the data ownership of the customer. So we're a B2B2C. The agency is our customer, but when the client downloads the app, they are also our customer only in the sense of we need to indemnify the agency if a client tries to claim that the app ruined their device. We're trying to indemnify. But other than that, we see the two as one. So we don't really distinguish, we treat the same. So ownership, the data that we get from the agencies, they own that data. Data that comes from the client owns that data. But the key question is more, there are three things that we look at: data ownership and data use. So we have the right to use the data from the agency to deliver our services. Okay. And we state in our terms of service that when we're done, if an agency is sold or they get merged with somebody and they're no longer a client of ours, all that data goes back to the agency. We remove it from the app. Our client on the app, they can put their own data in there. So who owns that data, that end user content that may come down from the carrier, that they may upload a document from another carrier? Who owns that data? And what are the rights to that data? And what are the usage rights? And this is the thing that we all have to be aware of, is there's a very common phrase that a lot of people use is, we have the right to use your content that's added to our services into perpetuity any way we want. And we can sublicense, which is another term for resell. I just ran into this I was doing something with medical stuff, and they were saying, I went through, because I now check, and I was like, what is this? What are the terms of use of my user content? And it said into perpetuity, whether I was using the service or not. And it is now a common lingo that is in a lot of, and especially anything related to insurance, because everybody wants the data and they want to use the data after you're no longer a client or while you're a client. So we feel very strongly about that. And then the third piece of data ownership is communication about data ownership and what you're doing, how you're communicating anything about that. So we make sure, and actually I give credit to HawkSoft on this, because Kenny, when you and I were building out the right back and we were talking about it, you said we want to make sure there's a kill switch.
Yeah.
So the agencies always have control over what's going on. And that is something that we've built in, is that the agency should always have control of any communications, email, text, phone calls that are going out to their clients. If there isn't a kill switch where they can stop those communications or control those communications, that's a red flag that they need to be aware of, because you should always be in control of the communications going to your clients and whether you want them. So anything that we do, so we've added that to almost every feature in the app. Do you want to show, this information? You can turn it on or turn it off. We can send emails, or you can send the emails. You can turn it on or you can turn it off. So those three components: data ownership, agencies own their data, clients own their data. We don't take it. Data usage, we're only going to use the data when it pertains to the services of the app. And if there's no longer a relationship there, we don't claim any rights to continue access, use, anything else with that app, nor do we make it hard for anybody to stop that. I mean, it's almost automatic. And then third is just communication. Always make sure that you are in control as an agency of the communication, and look through it. It takes a little longer, but it's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I had some follow-up questions, but that summary at the end, I think people checks all the boxes that I was going to ask about. And I love, we've done our 10 rounds having these conversations. So I always appreciate you and Matt are always willing to lean in and have these tough conversations because it's important. I think having these and exploring these with agencies, getting their perspective, and my father-in-law is an attorney, so I'm not going to say anything bad about attorneys, but they serve a purpose, and sometimes that is to kind of complicate conversations. And it's just about indemnity you mentioned, and kind of the CYA abbreviation, to just be protected just because it's how business functions in the United States, in particular. And so I appreciate the directness that you guys have in engaging on these topics. I'm a huge fan of toggle switches, being able to turn a feature on or off. To give context for the listeners, for our two-way API partners like Insurance Agent App, there's an on switch for sharing your client policy data. There's an on switch for allowing Insurance Agent App to send log notes back to the system, and the agency has control of that. Inside for HawkSoft, it's inside this settings area called Marketplace, where you can say, yes, I want to share data with Insurance Agent App. Yes, I want Insurance Agent App to be able to send log notes to me. On Kiki's side, she also has the ability to turn both of those things on or off if her engineers detect anything going wrong. And on HawkSoft side, we have the ability to turn those off. It's these fail safes that we go through, and so it's like whoever, if an issue were to ever arise, which has never come up, but if it does, we know that, if I find it first, I can go shut it off. Kiki finds it first, Kiki can shut it off. Heather finds it first, Heather can go shut it off. I think it's more complicated, and I appreciate the time and care that Insurance Agent App put into making sure that it was possible, because I think it's a better end result for an agency.
Yeah, an agency, I push the topic because agencies are overwhelmed.
Mhm.
You guys, I mean, but you are in the contract business. Every agency is in the contract person. So I'm like, I'm not going to take the excuse that, well, I didn't read it.
Mhm.
I never read the TOS or terms of service. I'm like, you need to, because you that's why you have E&O. Your customers don't have E&O
Yeah.
because they signed something, and you may inadvertently be telling them to give away all of their data, and they may come back to bite you, and it's an E&O issue. So
Yeah.
What goes around. So
And
Absolutely.
I do want to chime in on that just a little
Please.
bit. You had said that it's something that's really complicated, but something that I appreciate about the integration is that you guys have made it so it's really not complicated. It's very forward. Like you said, the toggle switch, you turn it on and off. You either want it or you don't, and it's very easy to find, very easy to get to. So I like simple, quick, and easy. So I am all about that.
Perfect.
I mean, we've really got the integration, the activation, and the write back down to literally, you can do it all in 10 minutes. I mean, it's 2 switches in HawkSoft. It's 2 switches in Insurance Agent App. But if you wanted to, you could go down, and we've even broken out, do you want the claims documentation sent back? I mean, we say do it all, but we send back claims. We send back change requests, cert requests, policy inventory reports. I mean, I think there's 15 different things that all can be turned on and off, and they can even choose who it gets sent to, whether it's, to the producer, the agent, the CSR, et cetera. And then we have another fallback if they work with VAs. So, but we try and keep it as simple as possible, because agencies, there's one thing they don't have a lot of, and that's time.
Yeah, absolutely. Which potentially sets us up for our next question. Our podcast, we try to make it a dialogue to uncover perspectives from technology providers and insurance professionals, and we view it as a two-way street. Heather, I promise you'll get your opportunity to engage on a similar level in part 2 of this conversation. But Kiki, I want to ask you, what is the hardest part of working with insurance agencies?
Watching them struggle with the tech stack.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's a love-hate relationship, and you watch it every day, because truth be told, vendors haven't made it easy. It's like, buy my tech, it does this. And what has happened with agencies is they've got this massive tech stack, and for a while there it was kind of a badge of honor. Well, I've got 42 pieces of tech in my agency. Well, I've got 78 in mine. And all to the demise of the agency, because that really doesn't work. You need a blended tech stack. We want to push as much of the data back to where they're spending most of their time. So that is what's hard for the agency, and we see them struggling with. And then what we see them struggling with, what's hard, is how to service their clients. They're tight on staff. It's a hard market. They are short on time. how do you still service the clients in a positive, easy manner? And the app allows them to do that and still have those touchpads. So we deliver all the policies, both commercial and personal lines, instantly to the policyholder. Immediately, the first time they log in, everything is there. All of the auto ID cards, the information. And that is just huge for an agency that's short on time, that it's all there. And then we can then further blend their tech stack within the app. So if they use a finance company, it's right there for the client to use. If they use a chatbot, it's right there for them to use. If they have instant quotes where they want to do that, it's right there. If they want to get their clients to just contact one person, they can do that in the app. So streamlining truly that customer service platform is where we feel that we see them struggle, and we feel that we can help them, with the referrals, with everything but it's so hard to watch them, because I do see right now agencies are getting burned out. And I'm like, don't get burned out, because you'll fall behind. And you'll get lost. I mean, I love talking with Heather, because she can kind of geek out and stuff, and she's always trying to figure out, and as an operations manager, she has the ability to look at it and say, okay, I can make my workflows work this way. I know she's going to spend time during her segment talking about the right back and everything else, but it's agencies need to take the time and just give themselves a moment to breathe and look at, what can I be doing better? It's like, I can teach a man to fish or fish for them. And if they just take the time, they can make it better for their team members. They can make it better for their policyholders. They can just create a whole better environment. Absolutely.
Heather, you were nodding when Kiki brought up that, it just seems like agencies are struggling a bit with technology. You're in I think I wasn't surprised, but it was impressive when I was doing my LinkedIn stalking for you. Not a lot of agencies have a named chief operations officer. I think that is a important role in any organization. And so how do you react to Kiki saying that technology can be overwhelming for agencies and they struggle with it?
My reaction is that is spot on. Coming from me, if you would have asked us 3 years ago what technology looked like in our industry, in our agency, we were very much that person wearing the badges of, we've got this and we've got this, and then you look to the side and you've got a bunch of agents. Just how do you use it? You can, all of that stuff adds up very quickly, and it's all the bells and whistles, and you don't need all the bells and whistles. You just need what's going to work for you and what's going to work for your process. So one of the things actually, two of the things we like to say here is, what got us here won't get us there. So being kind of old fashioned isn't going to get us there, and having 30 different platforms that I'm consistently trying to keep up to date and also teach everyone else how to use, that's not going to get us where we need to be. So another part that plays into that is just integration and consolidation. If I can get my day down to having one program on each one of my 3 monitors, that is a win for me. So I think with us having this, it's huge. It's really huge. It does so much, and I'm looking forward to telling more about it.
Excellent. Well, then I will ask my final question for Kiki, which is, I always say, you weren't too rough on insurance agencies in your last question, but this is always we like to end on the high note. And so, Kiki, I would love to know, what is the best part of working with insurance agencies?
Just watching the aha moment. What did you do?
Agents like me.
Yeah. It's that aha moment, because customer service tends to get pushed back just because they're so busy with everything else, whether it's maintaining the policy or everything else. And so when they have that aha moment of realizing that a customer service platform is key to the ongoing success of their agency and can keep working in the background while they're doing everything else and work it into their workflows so they can reduce workflows, so they can take this action, which will actually do 4 jobs in one action. It will actually do multiple things. And like when they share a document through the app, we send out a push notification, we send out an email, and we send it back to HawkSoft as a document and attach it at the policy level and the log note. So we just saved a whole bunch of steps right there. And so, or it's that aha moment with CIO request. We have another client who has gotten the turnaround time for their COI request to 4 minutes, because the way they look at it is time is money.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a lot with trucking and fleets. And when that person is sitting on the dock waiting for their COI, it's costing them money.
Mm-hmm.
So the faster the agency can turn that on. So they've trained their customers, put that request in, it goes right to a dedicated person that and that gets turned around, and they've got it down to 4 minutes to get those out. And it's huge. So I would say the fun of just those aha moments of, I didn't realize how much this could do, how easy it was to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have really made it. I mean, that's the focus of every feature we do. Everything we look at is how can we take out steps and fade into the background, so it just gets done if we can do something. So that's I think that would be the most fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that is always one of those things. I've said this before on the podcast. If I'm having a particular bad day at work, I just call an agent and I try to solve a problem. It's very immediate. It's very immediately rewarding. And so when you can have those interactions where they're just like, wow, it finally. I had a customer that finally put their scheduled property in the app, and then it showed it and then it's there, and now I don't have to worry about it. Or they sent me a photo, or a claim first notice of loss that we've talked a lot about, like those types of things. I could totally see how that would be like a really special thing to be like, oh, hey, it's working like we meant, and it's solving those problems. We've touched on a bit throughout this episode about how Insurance Agent App integrates with HawkSoft. Insurance Agent App was our first API partner. They were among the first to utilize our write back functionality. Is there anything that we have not touched on yet about how Insurance Agent App integrates with HawkSoft?
I think I touched on easy to do. I mean, it's one thing that I think is just so important. I've heard horror stories that integrations are taking 2 weeks, 3 weeks longer, and they ended up having to do so much more work. I mean, we've made it as easy to do. We realize, I mean, Heather has been fabulous in giving us feedback of ways that we can improve it and change things. And we really love that when clients give us that feedback, because we will put it in and see how we can manage it. We originally, with the marketing and everything, we made the assumption incorrectly that agencies must have marketing in place. How are they getting their clients? And so once we realized that there's lots of talk about videos and social media and everything else, but the actual production of that is a hurdle that they don't have. So that's why we create all of that material for them, branded with a 60-second video and content and images that they can literally create a year's worth of social media. So the fact that you can turn on, start the integration and everything in literally under an hour and have data in a mobile app for your clients, and then within 2 weeks have all of your material is and the write back and everything else. The simplicity, I think, is just one thing I'd want to emphasize about the integration. It's
excellent.
Not all integrations are the same.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I definitely know that. And we'll dive a lot more into that conversation and Heather's perspective using Insurance Agent App in her agency in part 2. So I hope everyone will join us next week for that episode. I'd like to thank Kiki and Heather for being with us today. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching today's episode. Click the video description below to learn more about our guests and to view the latest podcast episode as well as other content from HawkSoft. We appreciate you watching and hope you join us next time on the Insurance Perspectives podcast. Thank you.